So we are now on week 2, and this optical illusion uses value. So with the last optical illusion from last week, we used just lines to create the illusion. This week, we are going to use lines and value and shading. And shading is basically filling in different values from white to black to create a sense of depth and give it that three-dimensional look in our drawings. So that's basically what value is. Value is when you go from white all the way to black with your pencil. So it's white, gray, all those grays in the middle. And our first lesson is going to be creating a value scale. So I'm going to show you how to go from white to black so that when we do our final project, which is this square value optical illusion, you'll understand how to create the value. So the first part will be that value lesson, and then the second part will be creating the illusion, and it's going to be divided into 2 videos. The first video is how to draw the squares. And then the second video will be about filling in the squares and putting the value in the right places. So let's get to work on lesson 1. For create a value scale activity, you will need a piece of paper, a pencil, and a ruler. The first thing that we're going to do is just draw a long rectangle on our paper. So I'm going to come to the top half, and it doesn't matter how long it is. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle. I'll make it the width of my ruler. So I'm going to line my ruler up with that line that I just drew, and then that way we'll have a rectangle the size of our ruler. And I'm just going to connect the edges over here. So lining my ruler up to the top of my paper to make it a straight line. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, now I'm going to put 6 lines in here. So I'm going to divide it into 7 spaces. And they don't have to be perfect. If your ruler will fit in there that many times, it's fine. It doesn't have to be, they don't have to be perfect size, just as long as you get 7 in there. So that's 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to have to add a little bit more. So I'm just going to trace the edge of my ruler to add 1 more spot. Okay, so there's my squares. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the first one white, and I'm going to fill this one in black. So you're going to fill in with your pencil as dark as you can make it. And if you have a regular like 2 pencil or an HB pencil, then you'll be able to get pretty dark. So just fill that whole section in. As dark as you can get it. All right, so now you have the 2 ends of your value scale. You have white and you have black, and I know my pencil didn't go all the way black, so that's okay. Just get it as dark as you can. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values in between white and black. So in each square, your shading is going to get a little bit darker. Excuse me. So in this first one, I'm just going to lightly add in some color. Fill in the whole box, try to get it even with the same value. And if it looks a little dark, you can come back in and erase some of it with your pencil to make it a little bit lighter. Now there should be just enough difference between your white square and your first shaded square that you can tell that there's pencil in there. Now I'm going to make this one just a little bit darker than that one. So again, I'm going to come in and I'm going to go a little darker, filling in, trying to make it evenly shaded all the way across the square. And if you go outside of the square, that's okay. This is just a practice, just a lesson on how to do value, so that when we go to create the optical illusion, you'll understand the different values. Now that might actually be a little too dark for the second one. So I am just going to go in and just erase just a light layer of pencil across. And clean up your edges if you want to. So now we have white, a little bit darker, and a little bit darker. I'm going to come to my middle one. Now this needs to be a middle value. So you want it to be in between a white and the black. So we're going to go a little bit darker than that one. And fill it in and try to make it evenly the same shade across the whole thing. So this is probably a medium value. Might be a little dark. We can go in and just take a little bit out if you want to lighten it up just a little. But that's probably pretty good. So now you see how each time we're filling in a square, the value is getting darker. It's getting closer to the black. And then the next one, we are going to do darker than this one. And fill in and try to get it as even as we can all the way across. So now we have 5 blocks of color, one darker than the next. And now we're going to go almost to black in this one. And we're going to try to do that evenly across the entire square. And you might have to, go over it a couple times with your pencil. And I'm going to clean up the edges a little bit so it's more boxed in. Okay. Now we have created a value square, a value scale from white to black. And this is just chunks of color. We have 7 boxes of color or shades. So this is basically what we're going to work with when we start doing our final project. And I'll say, shade it in with a light value. So you're going to come to this side. If I say shade it in with a medium value, you're going to come to this one. And then shade it in with the black, go dark, as dark as you can, you'll come here. So that's why we're doing this basically. Now the next step of shading is blending it together. So we're going to do the same thing that we did. We're just going to trace our ruler like we did. And this time it doesn't have, we're not dividing it, and it doesn't have to be perfectly square on the ends, perfectly straight. So we're going to do the same thing, but this time we're not going to have it in chunks of value. We're going to go from light all the way to dark smoothly. So we're going to leave a little section white, and then just like here, we're going to slowly start adding a little bit of value. And we'll get a little bit more value, bearing down a little bit more with a little more pressure on our pencil as we go across our square. And it's okay that it's light at first. We can fill the whole thing in with this light value at first. So all the way across. It's a little bit darker than white. It's more, you know, in this one. We're going to add that in all the way across. Try to get it evenly filled in. So there's a light value starting with white. Now we're going to come in with our medium value. So our medium value starts about midway, right? So we're going to come into our medium value right here, and we're going to work our way to the end, to where the black will be. Trying to match our medium values. All the way to the end of our box. Now we have a light, medium light, and then our medium. Now from here, we're going to slowly work our way to evening out this value. We're going to slowly start blending from that medium value down to our white section. We can darken our medium up a little bit and just very slowly lightening up our color, or lifting up our pencil just a little bit, making it lighter till we get towards the end. And then we're going to slowly come back in with our pencil, our eraser, and just lightly lift a little bit of that color. Okay. So that's not completely a perfect gradation right there, so we're going to keep working on it. This time I'm going to go back to my medium, darken it just a little, and I'm going to work my way towards black. Because sometimes to know how light we need a section, we have to add in that darker value. So I'm going to slowly make my way to where the black will be, putting more pressure on my pencil, filling in thicker graphite. Till I get to where it should be black. I'm just going to slowly work my way from the black to my medium color. And when you're shading, you have to play around with it a little bit. You have to kind of go from light to dark, find your medium, and then work your way from that medium out. So see, as I'm filling it in, I'm working my way through those different values to get all the way to my black, to soften it in between the transitions. slowly making my way down to the white. So now you have a transitioned value scale. You can clean it up so that you can see the gradation a little bit better in the middle. So that's two ways of creating value. You can do it in blocks and you can smooth it together. And in the project, our final project, we are going to be using this idea to shade in our optical illusion.